they're right to be annoyed. This isn't just a whining take about travel fatigue. It's a clear example of a scheduling asymmetry the NFL could have prevented without any real sacrifice. The Chiefs flew 5,300 plus miles to play in Brazil, returned about 4 days later, and now have to face a top tier Eagles team that enjoyed more rest heading into the same Sunday window. That gap isn't a quirk of the calendar. It's a competitive disadvantage that the league created and could have fixed. Here's a deep dive on the problem, why it matters, and simple ways the NFL could and should have avoided it. What actually happened? Kansas City opened the season with an international game in Sao Paulo against the Chargers. The league scheduled the game on a Friday night to give both teams extra recovery time before week 2. But because the NFL also placed Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football to honor the defending champions, the Eagles ended up with more rest heading into Sunday's week 2 slate. In effect, KC traveled halfway around the world, came back, and then had less recovery time than the team that stayed home. That's an avoidable mismatch. Why rest imbalance is more than anecdote. The science and competitive edge, sleep science, circadian rhythm research, and high-performance sports work all point to a simple truth. Travel and time zone disruption compound fatigue in meaningful ways. Jet lag doesn't vanish after one overnight stop. It lingers for several days and can degrade reaction time, decision-making, and recovery. Football players depend on split-second timing, precise cognition, and physical freshness, all of which take a hit after long international travel. There's plenty of empirical evidence in pro sports that rest matters. Teams with extra recovery days tend to have lower injury rates, better fourth-quarter performance, and superior efficiency in fast break or high-tempo situations. Whether you look at game script execution, special teams accuracy, or late-game decision-making, rest shows in numbers. So when the NFL schedules a team to travel 10,000 miles and face a top-tier opponent on shorter rest than that opponent, the league isn't just creating an inconvenience, it's skewing the contest's competitive integrity. Pattern and precedent. The NFL could have planned differently. The NFL has scheduled international games for years and sometimes builds in buys after overseas trips, precisely to avoid this sort of problem. Remember Germany 2023 when Kansas City played Miami and then had a follow-up that accounted for travel? That's the sensible playbook. Either give an overseas team a built-in extra rest week or avoid stacking the calendar so the opponent gets an advantage by virtue of a Thursday game. Even without an actual bye, the league had options that wouldn't have broken the bank. Schedule KC's Week 2 opponent on Sunday morning, give KC a Sunday night game the following week, or swap the Eagles to a different slot so the Chiefs wouldn't face the defending champs coming off just 4 days shorter recovery. Any of those choices would have removed the clearly avoidable rest gap. The fairness angle. Why fans and teams should care. Fans rightly bemoan uneven schedules because the league sells the product as a fair competition. Competitive balance is the NFL's promise. Irregular rest undermines it. If the Chiefs lose or perform below expectations, critics will point to fatigue rather than X's and O's. If they win handily, the complaint fades. But the integrity cost is the same either way. Teams must operate under rules designed to create an even playing field. When the league can foresee and fix a rest mismatch and doesn't, it eats at credibility. There's also a human cost element. Players are not robots. They're human beings who travel, recover, and manage personal routines. Short rest after long travel increases injury risk. Coaches are forced to micromanage workloads, and trainers must scramble to mitigate an avoidable physical deficit. Those are all failures of scheduling, not toughness. Why the NFL's calculus tends to privilege spectacle over fairness. We can't ignore the commercial drivers. International games sell, they expand the brand, they deliver eyeballs, and their revenue hits for the league and host markets. Thursday Night Football for the reigning champ is a marquee television event. The NFL is juggling broadcast windows, sponsor obligations, stadium availability, and global promotional calendars. Those pressures often lead to trade-offs between what's best commercially and what's best competitively. But the commercial logic doesn't have to trump basic fairness. The problem here is not that the NFL scheduled an international game or that it honored the champion with a Thursday night slot. The problem is that it didn't reconcile those competing priorities in a way that protected the traveling team. That reconciliation would have cost little in commercial terms, but returned a lot in competitive legitimacy. Practical solutions: how the NFL could fix this going forward. The good news is the fixes are obvious and simple. 1. Prioritize built-in rest for international games. If a team plays overseas, give them an automatic bye the following week, or at minimum, protect them from playing an opponent that has an artificial rest advantage thanks to a Thursday game. Number 2. Avoid pairing international games with Thursday opponents likely to be marquee teams. If the league flowers the schedule so that international teams face Thursday opponent winners in week 2, you're inviting predictable complaints. 3. Create a scheduling rubric for fairness. The league can publish a simple policy: international trip equals X days of built-in recovery, or no week 2 opponent with fewer than Y recovery days. Transparency reduces the heat. 4. Use flexible kickoff windows. The NFL increasingly uses Sunday windows and late afternoon scheduling. A modest tweak, shifting a particular game forward or backward by a few hours or days, can erase a rest deficit without cratering TV revenue. Potential pushback and counter-arguments and why they don't hold up. Some will argue fairness is impossible. Every team gets short weeks sometimes, and travel is part of the grind. That's true in a vacuum. But this isn't a symmetric short week. This is a team that crossed multiple time zones for an international showcase, then returned, only to face an opponent with deliberately more recovery time. There's a difference between unavoidable mini imbalances and a foreseeable, avoidable scheduling mismatch. The NFL can absorb small flexibility to protect competitive balance without losing the merchandising value of international games. What this means for the Chiefs this week and the league. In practical terms, Kansas City's staff will try to mitigate shortened practices, strategic rest, sleep optimization, nutritionally focused recovery, and micro-rotations in special teams. Andy Reid is famously pragmatic and will suit up the team as ready as possible. But those mitigations are triage. They're not the same as the league proactively preventing the situation. For the NFL, this episode is reputational. Fans, analysts, and other teams will notice whether the league learns and adapts. If the complaint dies quietly, the perception of league indifference will grow. If the league adopts a formal policy to protect international travelers moving forward, it will show competence and a willingness to put the integrity of competition first. Bottom line, the Chiefs didn't choose to play in Brazil for vanity. The league chose to put them there because the NFL benefits from global spectacle. That's fine. Global growth is a valid priority, but growth can't come at the price of fairness. The league had multiple easy ways to prevent this rest disparity: a protected rest day, a different week 2 opponent, or minor calendar tweaks. It chose not to. That omission is what stings, and it's why Chiefs fans, and any fan who values competitive integrity, have every right to be annoyed. If the NFL cares about being not just the most watched, but the most respected sports league, it will make scheduling changes next year so international showcases don't come with an asterisk that reads, "We scheduled this, but don't expect a level playing field."